Hello, I'm Coach Natalie, and welcome to another episode of Jiu Jitsu for Dummies. Today we're going to be working on what we call the clock choke. It's usually done when your opponent is on their hands and knees, what we call the turtle position. It is a submission that you'll need to do against a person who's wearing a gi, but they could also be wearing a jacket, some kind of, heavy clothing on top. It doesn't actually have to be an official jiu-jitsu gi, but you will need some fabric to hold on to. But it's pretty simple, so let's check it out. So the clock choke gets its name because as you start to apply the choke, your feet will start to go around your opponent's head, kind of like the hands of a clock, either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on the direction. But the first thing you're going to be doing is I want to show you, you're going to be reaching underneath your opponent's neck and going to be reaching onto the lapel. How we usually get there is your opponent is on their hands and knees, as I said, the turtle. I'm going to be reaching over, grabbing my lapel and feeding it to my opposite hand. Next thing I'm going to be doing is securing this far leg, the end of their pant leg, somewhere near their ankle, that kind of thing. Last thing I'm going to be doing is applying pressure, really pressing down on them as I start to move my legs out in front of them, as I said, in the manner of a clock hands. So again, your opponent might be on their hands and knees. Maybe they did a takedown attempt and you sprawled, or, and there's a scramble for whatever reason. They're on their hands and knees. I'm going to reach over, grab underneath their underarm, get this lapel, and feed it to this hand. Next, I'm going to grab their ankle, pant, fabric. Last thing, so I'm going to be pressing down onto them and start to move my hips in front of their shoulder until they would tap. Seen from another angle. Again, they're on their hands and knees. I'm going to reach over, through, grab their lapel, and feed it to my other hand. Next, I'm going to be grabbing onto this pant leg. Now, it could be something what we call a pistol grip, or just holding on firmly to their shin, but securing their leg in some way. Finally, I'm going to be applying pressure. Finally, from the last angle, reaching in, getting the lapel, feeding it to my hand, grabbing their pant, like so. Now, the clock choke's pretty simple, but there are still some basic mistakes people can make. The first one, and this is more of a style thing, is thinking that when you're first grabbing the lapel that you have to grab as high as you can. You don't really have to. Right now, Sally's not putting up much resistance, so I can be very careful on how high I'm reaching up. You don't want it too low, but it should be just touching their neck. A more serious mistake would be failure to apply weight. Now, a lot of people don't like the clock choke because, as you can see, I have most of my body in front of their head. That means that if I make any mistakes and let them loose, they can escape and get to my back. So a way that I counter that would be, remember again, reaching through, feed the gi, secure the leg. Last thing I'm doing is I'm putting my side of my chest on their back. Now, as I start to walk my legs forward, you can see my bottom is off the floor. I'm not sitting down when I apply this. I'm really putting as much pressure as I can by lifting up, and the only thing that's really touching the floor is the bottom of my feet. So failure to apply weight. And then this is more of a style, but sometimes I've seen the clock choke. Remember when we're securing? Remember how I was saying that you might want to grab onto their pant leg? Now sometimes I've seen people reach over and they are securing the arm by reaching through and grabbing the forearm this way. Now, the problem with that is that if your opponent, especially if they're a real person, if they roll, if you're holding onto their inside arm, then you're kind of trapped and you'll roll with them. So the good thing about grabbing onto the outside of their leg is that you can keep them from rolling, but you can always, you know, just control, but you're not putting yourself into an inferior position. So again, let's check out the whole thing. Again, let's just assume that your opponent is in the turtle position. You're going to be reaching over, reaching through, grabbing their lapel. Next, I'm going to be grabbing the outside leg, the pant leg, and what I call a pistol grip, but really just securing the shin is good enough. Finally, resting on my underarm and my rib onto their back, putting all of my weight on them until my feet get above their head and it starts to get very tight, and that's when they're going to tap. I hope you learn the clock choke. It's a pretty simple move, but often used in really high levels of Jiu Jitsu. Reach out to me. I have a Facebook page, Natalie Whitson Jiu Jitsu. Suggest a move. Love to hear from you. And thank you again for joining me for another episode of Jiu Jitsu for Dummies.